When it comes to electric vehicles, people don't often consider Kia as one of their top tier choices. They usually think of it as an economy brand and very much something that would ordinarily be something that you pay $5,000 for, as it once was in its heyday. But Kia is actively working to change that, and we're going to explore why you should consider, if you're in the market for an electric vehicle, the EV6. Welcome to The Breakdown, where we talk about everything cars, news, and reviews. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Before we get started,
Better what he got going on. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle and haven't checked your credit score yet, don't go checking Credit Karma. Check your FICO score. FICO is the nation's #1 automotive resource for lenders to determine credit worthiness for a consumer and can determine the difference between you paying $500 or $5,000 in interest. Click on the link in the description below to get 20% off your next purchase. If you're tired of the dealership playing in your face and want the best rates possible, then check your credit score first, and this can only be done through FICO. With that being said, now back to Dumb Dumb Show.
and buy my damn book. If you haven't thought about it already, you should strongly consider it. Of course, the book isn't out, so you guys just bear with me. So before I get into my review, I do want to let you guys know that I will pretty soon stop posting car buying content. I don't see it getting many views, and I'm not a person that likes to waste my time. So if you guys are interested in me helping you buy a car and you want my services, you can go check all of my content over on Patreon, which I go into explicit detail of everything that you need to know alongside the book that's going to be offered, so that I can help you guys make the best choices for your car buying decisions and to improve your overall financial status. With that being said, let's get into the video, because the Kia EV6 is one to check out. So let's get straight to the point. EVs aren't for everyone, and it's safe to say that if you're on this channel, you're probably considering one. If you're in the market for a brand new vehicle, and a brand new electric vehicle at that, the Kia EV6 is a top choice whether you want something efficient, performance oriented, or the best of both worlds. But before we get into it, let's talk about the design of the Kia EV6 and why it's kind of unique in its appeal, but also not quite what the people would like to think that it is. Basically, it's a station wagon. If you look into the design, you can kind of tell that the EV6 gives a nice shooting brake style-esque design. For any of you guys who aren't aware, the former designer of Audi went over to Kia some time ago, and we have seen that reflect in the dynamics of their design, because the ones from 1998 just sucked. I mean, let's just be honest. But the new design of this EV6, this is one of Kia's first electric vehicles, and it looks absolutely great, and it's been on the market for at least a year, and it looks really good. Especially, it gives the oversized wheels, do give it more of a kind of funky design, and a little closer to the Kia Soul in some regards. The Kia design for the EV6 has got to be one of the more dynamic things you'll see on the vehicle. Unlike the Mustang Mach E and the Volkswagen ID4, it is an electric vehicle, but it doesn't quite look like one. If you know, you know. And that's what I really enjoy about this one. It looks like a normal car. It looks like it has an internal combustion engine. So aside from funky styling and oversized wheels, overall this does give you a pretty cool package for what it costs. Now, like many other electric vehicles, this is not cheap. This is going to run you from anywhere between $48,000 up into $67,000 before options and tax credits. But I have to say that this has got to be one of the ones that I would sort of choose. I'm not really a Kia person, but I do enjoy where they're going with their design. Now, the exterior and interior options can cost you a premium upwards of $500, so that's something to be mindful of. But let's get into performance, because I think that's really why you guys are here. So the Kia EV6 starts off with a 77 kilowatt battery that gets up to 310 miles EPA, and it does have 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And this does go to the rear wheels. This is the rear wheel drive wind model, that's what they call it or whatever. But it does come with the E all-wheel drive package if you decide to go up. If you want to go up a little higher, you can get the GT line. So if you're not basic like me, then you probably consider the GT line, which is a little higher trim than the regular wind rear-wheel drive version. The rear-wheel drive version of the GT line does contain the 77 kilowatt battery that gets up to 282 miles EPA and gives you 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty good. If you don't know anything about electric vehicles, you'll know that electric vehicles typically do contain more torque and give you more thrust, and that's kind of the beauty of it. And there's instant torque. There's no build up or ramp up like you would in an internal combustion engine. Electric vehicles do give you the same amount of fun factor dynamically, but I can't say that they're not as fun to drive as a traditional internal combustion engine, and that's due to the weight distribution, and that's a physics lesson, but I won't go into that today. Aside from that, there is the GT outright trim. There is no line, it's just GT, and the GT trim is the one that I would actually consider doing if it didn't have the bad EPA rating of 205 miles. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Come on, guys, what are we gonna do? And I guess it's the same as if you had a V10 or a V8 or something like that that got 600 horsepower arguably, but if I'm paying for an electric vehicle, then I want long mileage range. So I would say if you're going to spec one out, try to stick within the GT line because that's where it seems to be the sweet spot. Some may just need the rear wheel drive. For anybody who has never had 200 plus horsepower, it's more than adequate that you need. Most people don't even recognize the difference between 225 horsepower from a turbocharged engine from a 4-cylinder to a V6 outside of the linearity and the smoothness of the ride. And I know it's kind of apples to oranges a little bit, speaking of internal combustions to electric vehicles, but the thing is that to give perspective and to give you guys introspection on what's happening, the electric vehicles are here to stay. We're not getting rid of them. We're probably going in that direction in the next 10 years. So this is no better time to start thinking about the electric vehicles that you want. Now, for those of us who are enthusiasts, we're more than likely going to get the EV6 GT, which is equipped with the dual motor all-wheel drive system, which means it has power and traction to spare. And with all of that precision, the GT model goes from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, which is the equivalent of an i4 M50, according to Motor Trend. And if you've never driven an electric vehicle, I've driven the Porsche Taycan, I absolutely loved it. The BMW M50, I drove the E40 all-wheel drive. I've driven a lot of cars, y'all. But this is the one that sits at the top of the lineup and comes with enhancements such as electronic slip differential, sport tune chassis, adaptive suspension, crisp brakes. For the average person, I don't think you're gonna need this, but if you're someone who likes all the bells and whistles and all the performance entities that come along with it, this is the one that you should really spec out. But that's only if it's within your price range. Now, keep in mind, you are still getting a $7,500 tax credit in the event you buy this, not necessarily lease. But if you buy this, you do get a $7,500 tax credit, and that should help out. But as I said earlier, this only gets about 205 to 206 miles of range according to MotorTrend.com, and they said that the Mustang GT gets about 270 with comparable performance at 3.8 seconds as opposed to the EV6's 3.2. I mean, that, baby, where you going? You're not that fast. And if you've never been in any type of traffic, whether it be LA, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, baby, that 3.2 seconds to 3.8 is not gonna make that big of a difference. You're just gonna go vroom vroom. In fact, you're not gonna go vroom vroom because it's an electric vehicle. So it's just gonna be nothing and you're just gonna be going fast. In terms of packaging, this does come in 5 different trims: the Wind E all-wheel drive, the GT line E all-wheel drive, as well as the GT, which comes standard with the all-wheel drive. This platform is rear-wheel biased, so it does give you the true feel of a rear-wheel drive sports car. Think kind of the Kia Stinger in sense of it powers the rear wheels, not necessarily the front wheels, such as something like a Kia Optima. In terms of features, the Kia EV6 is packed with all the latest and greatest. It has a 12.3-inch LCD, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard, wireless charging, and a full suite of driver assist technologies keep you safe on the road, assuming you get the Wind Tech package, which is $1,500. Yet again, they're taxing you. But if you get the Wind Tech package, that does give you the safety suite, which is always important in driving. It also comes with standard heated and cool seats, cold weather ready package, and preserving heat pump, and onboard power generator. I'm not sure how that works in in-garage use because that can probably, I'm almost certain, emit some level of carbon monoxide, but I digress. It also comes with 5 USB ports and a standard power tailgate and a Meridian 14 speaker system, which is pretty good from what I'm told. It gives you a good array of features for what you're buying because a lot of the electric vehicles are much more pricey, and for what we pay, they should be. Now, in terms of pricing, the Kia is a little more on the expensive side. Comparably, you can get a BMW 3 Series for the same price, or even the X3 like I've done in the past. And this is before any type of tax credit or destination fees are applied. The EV6 does start at $48,500, and it does take a while to get your hands on one because, of course, supply chain issues, microchip shortages, yada, yada, yada. It is going to take you a little longer to get your car. And they are kind of hot right now because Kia is always on the forefront of being the cool girl in school. So there's going to be a high volume of weight, but you know, Kia does do a good job of trying to manage that. In comparison to the Mach E, I would say that the Mach E is slightly bigger, but the overall value system of this, of what you're getting in terms of performance and features, the Kia is a great option if you're in the market for considering a brand new SUV hatchback wagon in Kia terms, because they left it completely vague in the way that they describe this particular car and what segment it falls in. I would consider this if I am a younger buyer who wants something that looks a little funky. I can see how this design gets a little old over time. So if you're not someone that keeps your cars a long time, this is a great option. But if you're somebody that keeps your car for a long time, you'll probably get tired of looking at this after about 3 years. So I would encourage you to consider that factor. And Kia still does do its 10 100,000 or 100,000 mile warranty. I'm not sure about the warranty in terms of the electric vehicles just yet. Don't quote me on that. But I can tell you that from what I know about Kia, it's a great upfront car. I have never had the best long-term review of Kia in terms of their cars. For most manufacturers, they honestly don't want you to keep your cars that long, so that's a whole different tangent. But if you're in the market for an electric vehicle, this is probably one that you should strongly consider in addition to the Mustang Mach E, which is a great performance bargain, has had rave reviews from journalists alike. So if you're in the market for that, definitely check out the Kia EV6, and it's got a lot of performance for its buck, essentially. And yeah, I don't have any qualms about it. It's got excellent performance, long range. If you get the wind rear-wheel drive model with the 225 horsepower, you get about 310 miles EPA, and that's pretty good. That's about the normal of what you would get in ICE. Now, the charging component, it does have an additional charger, but it's got the range preserving heat pump system. So I say all that to say is that this seems like a pretty good buy if you're in the market for it. With that being said, if you like this video, go check out my other car buying videos and my reviews. They're a little lengthy. This is a little short, but with that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later.